Late 30s now, feeling the cold, hard, unyielding weight of the wall everyone said wasn't real. Remember my 20s. It was my time, my decade, my city. Had the degree, the hustle, the conviction. Was a girl boss, a fempreneur, a slayer. Got all the validation I wanted, and then some. Male attention was an endless, renewable resource. It was a buffet and I was sampling appetizers, always leaving the main course on the table. All the nice guys, the planners, the providers, they were all so boring. They wanted dinner dates and commitment and nesting. Ugh, the patriarchy trying to trap me in a domestic cage. Told myself I was too busy breaking glass ceilings to be bothered by men trying to build wooden fences. My career was everything. I was the future. They were the past. Remember Mark? Mark was the ultimate example of what I didn't want. Mid-20s, engineer, saved his money, drove a sensible car, talked about buying a duplex and renting out half to cover the mortgage. God, the sheer audacity of his mediocrity. Tried to take me to a craft beer place and discuss mutual fund diversification. I ended that date 45 minutes in, told him I had a women's collective meeting, went home and swiped on Chad 4, who had 3 tattoos and a trust fund he was actively trying to blow. Laughed with my girlfriends about how men were so desperate to lock us down before we achieved our full potential. My potential was unlimited. I was an Amazonian warrior princess powered by intersectionality and cold brew coffee. Fast forward to 33. Things start to feel different. Got the promotion, got the condo, got the executive title, but dating apps became a desert. Still swiping, but the quality dropped off a cliff. The Chads were still there, but they weren't swiping on me. They were swiping on the 24-year-old interns I was managing. My internal monologue started getting louder, angrier. It wasn't me. It was the men who were intimidated by my success. They couldn't handle an empowered woman. They were weak, fragile, and terrified of my accomplishments. I deserved a man who was my equal, an alpha who also understood the importance of dismantling toxic masculinity. The Venn diagram for that man was a circle the size of a neutrino. Turned 35 this year. The realization hit me like a slow-motion semi-truck. All the men who were interested in stability and partnership had partnered. They hadn't waited. The ones left were either divorced dads who wanted a free babysitter, chronic commitment phobes, or broke musicians looking for a sugar mommy with an expense account. The biological clock is not a myth. It's a deafening alarm blaring inside my skull. My career is stable, yes, but my nights are quiet. My apartment is too clean, and my achievements feel like cold granite. No one to share the success with, no one to impress, no one to validate me outside the boardroom. It's the patriarchy's final, cruel joke, making us choose between our power and our peace. Decided I needed to fix this immediately. I needed a man who had potential, but was pliable. Someone I could mold into the perfect partner. Someone who was grateful for a second chance with a high-value woman like me. The thought of Mark popped into my head. Mark was always nice, always stable. He'd be 38 now, probably had his duplex, maybe needed a little cultural enrichment, but he was a known quantity. He was the safe harbor I would finally deign to anchor my magnificent vessel in. I'd do him a favor by gracing him with my presence and my executive salary. This was a rescue mission, really. Found him easily on LinkedIn. He wasn't using it for networking, just had a simple profile, same sensible photo, but his beard was a little thicker. Saw his status update from 6 months ago. Just made the final payment on the second rental property. Officially debt-free and mortgage-free. FI/RE achieved. Felt a little prickle of respect, but mostly annoyance. FI/RE, financial independence, retire early? What a pretentious, selfish male movement. Still, debt-free meant he was a good provider. He was ready for me. Sent him a message. Kept it cool, detached, superior, but with a subtle undercurrent of, I know you've been waiting for this. Hey Mark, long time no chat. I was just thinking about that great craft beer place we almost went to years ago. Would love to catch up and talk about life now that I have a little more breathing room after all the career grind. Coffee next week? He replied a day later. Not immediately, which was irritating. His message was short, polite, and completely emotionally flat. Hi. Thanks for reaching out. It's been a while. My schedule is pretty set with personal projects right now, but I hope your career is still going well. All the best. What? Read it 3 times. No enthusiasm, no questions, no mention of my invitation. It was a polite, clinical no. Felt a flush of pure, burning rage. He didn't recognize the privilege I was offering him. He didn't grasp that I, a successful executive, was offering him a second chance. This was typical male passive aggression. I pushed back immediately. Sent a longer message, injecting urgency and subtle flattery. Mark, that's a shame. I was really looking forward to hearing your insight on the housing market. I'm thinking of investing heavily now that my portfolio is stabilizing. Maybe you can give me some tips? It's hard to find grounded, smart men like you these days who aren't afraid of commitment. He replied in the evening, again taking his sweet time. This time, his response was slightly longer, and it was devastatingly calm. I appreciate the kind words. My tips are simple, though. Live below your means and prioritize time over possessions. I don't really do commitment in the traditional sense. I actually sold my duplex and bought a smaller cabin upstate a year ago. It's paid off, extremely low overhead, and it allows me to focus purely on my hobbies, like woodworking and amateur astronomy. I'm out of the dating market. No need for the complexity or cost. My blood ran cold. He was out of the dating market. The phrase felt like a directed weapon, sharp and designed to wound. What about me? I was the prize, the reward for his sensible life choices. I typed furiously, ignoring the knot in my stomach. But don't you want someone to share that with? What about legacy? Family? You can't just check out. That's so selfish. You're isolating yourself. Women like me want to build families with men who are financially secure. His final response arrived promptly, almost instantly. It was the calmest, most clinical piece of writing I had ever received, and it dismantled my entire worldview. The cost of sharing requires aligning my life goals with someone else's. My goal is maximum autonomy, minimum expense, and total personal peace. My current trajectory, debt-free, self-sufficient, GWW, is perfectly aligned with those goals. Introducing a high-earning, high-expectation partner with significant lifestyle requirements, social commitments, and the desire for children/large property would invalidate all the sacrifices I made in my 20s to achieve this state. I value my peace more than the validation or status a relationship with a woman like you would provide. You pursued the CEO path. I pursued the autonomy path. We are no longer compatible. I truly wish you luck. GWW. Going with the wind? Looked it up. Read the manifestos, the forums, the discussions. It was the evolution of the movement I used to mock. It wasn't bitterness. It wasn't desperation. It was an exit strategy. They weren't angry. They were simply gone. They realized that the terms of engagement were so bad, financial risk, emotional labor, total sacrifice of personal goals, that the only winning move was not to play. Mark wasn't waiting. He wasn't desperate. He wasn't intimidated. He was free. He had calculated the cost of dating me, an executive feminist with high expectations, and decided the ROI was negative. My executive title, my condo, my salary, all the things I used to make men feel inferior, meant nothing to him. They were simply line items on a balance sheet he wanted to keep at zero. He had outsmarted the system by opting out of it entirely. Looked around my pristine, empty condo, the expensive art, the status symbols, the corner office. They were all monuments to a victory I had fought alone, and the prize for that victory was the silence in this room. I didn't lose Mark to another woman. I lost him to his spreadsheet. I lost him to his peace. I lost him because I assumed that high-value men would always be available as a retirement plan, sitting on the sidelines, patiently waiting for my career to peak. Nobody waited for me at 35. And now, I realized they never had to. The bitter taste of entitlement when it finally runs dry. Sat in the dark, hating the sound of the clock ticking. It wasn't the patriarchy that did this. It was the market. And I overvalued myself right until closing bell.